Call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Um, Please, can we start?
Yeah.
Can we start?
Yes, over to you, please.
Okay. Is Dr. Misobiani there?
She stepped out.
Okay. The conversation on Japa continues. And broad discussion on migration Japa, and what have you continues. So as these arguments are going hand in hand, we want to remind all of us that we are taking cognizance of the papers being presented, and definitely we will reach out to most persons for their papers, as we pointed out earlier since yesterday. So this fourth panel will be interacting with four presenters. The first person, Deborah. I don't know if Deborah, are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, she's presenting online. Deborah.
I'm here.
Okay. Oh, okay. I'm seeing your name online. So Deborah will be present on a topic from Sapa to Japa, the role of music in 21st century migration. Please, you have 12 minutes.
Next slide.
Slide. You sent it.
Can you give her the mic so that you can hear?
Miss, can you make the slide over? Like full screen, instead of zooming. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for being here. My name is Deborah Temisan Lawal from the Federal College of Education at Abeokuta, and I'll be presenting a paper titled From Sapa to Japa, the role of popular music in modern day migration. Next slide, please. So I'm going to open it. Okay. So studies on migration from different disciplines have engaged the issues, scholars from different disciplines rather have engaged the issue of migration from the angle of pattern and trend, causes, impact, integration, policy analysis, and so on. But next slide. We have other areas that require further investigations, areas like the long-term impact of SAPA on Japa, the migrant agency, the interplay between those people who are actually moving has been, they've been the real cause, not external reasons, but they've been the agents of their own relocation, and also intersection and diversity. This area needs further investigation. How people, single parents, do they relocate? Do they migrate more than those with families and all of that? Then there is still need for further investigation in mixed method approaches to this issue and comparative studies, as well as future migration scenarios. So these are the areas that still need further investigation in the issue of migration. What's the motivation for my research? First motivation is I want to work on the understanding that is in the processes of empowerment. What empowers migration? What empowers Japa? what informs it, what motivates it, what gives people, what influences it. Also, I want to understand the dynamic that exists, that interplay between music, migration, and culture. Another motivation is the appreciation for the musical expressions regarding this germane issue of migration. Now to my introduction. Nigeria, as we know, is faced with a lot of challenges. You talk about insecurity, the poor educational system, corruption, poverty. You can just go on and on and on about the issues in Nigeria. And that's what has brought us to SAPA. SAPA means poverty, lack, inadequacy, in different angles, and it means different things to different people. The poverty of the mind may just be one person's problem, and another person's problem will be poverty in terms of real money. Somebody's own poverty may be poverty of knowledge. Somebody's, different angles to SAPA. No, please stay on that slide. To SAPA, which connotes poverty. It could be social, it could be economic, it could be, geographical. And this has led to some people using Japa as a way out to solve their SAPA problem. And Japa in this case refers to relocation, movement, mobility from where you are to another place. And that's depicted in this picture. Next slide, please. Now, because of the SAPA that many people experience, it could even be health-wise. Poverty of health. Many people are beginning to dust their passports and get money to buy tickets so that they can relocate and seek for better opportunities. But they are doing this by leaving their present state of SAPA to arrive at a place where they call Japa. And in this study, Japa is not just the movement from one place to another. Like Spinoza said, peace is not the absence of war, but it's a state of mind. Okay, so the SAPA in this instance in my research is passing. It could be social and just the movement from that poverty sphere to a better place. Now, next slide, please. After all the discussions, let's hear what music has to say. Next slide. Please play the video. Please play the video. When you click on it, you will see under that it will play. Tap on it. No, you sent it as a PDF. No, I did not send you that. Yes. Okay. Okay. Should I play from here?
Yeah. Ain't no noise. The other side, it rush me no more. The other side, it rush me no more. Wait to take my walk, do me beyond the city. I'm going to probably try to come on. You are that got to be away. Oh,
I'm sorry you didn't get to watch the video because in my analysis, in my methodology, I'll be doing both sonic, textual, and visual analysis as well as an ethnographic study. So I was thinking not just the sound, for you to also have a view of an excerpt of the visual visual representation. Nevertheless, I'll go on. Please, next slide. Like I said, my analysis is going to be textual, visual, sonic, and ethnographic. The question this research is trying to ask is this: in what way is music representing the notion of migration, especially among young people? Now, the lyrics of the song I just played, you could hear Michael O saying, "Wetin man go do if yawa dey na to japa." There's got to be a way, a better way. Then
Public holiday has been moved down to Wednesday. They didn't move it around. I see now. Somebody said.
Okay, so there is.
You wait for memo now.
Please, can Deborah mute? I don't know who is Deborah. Can you mute yourself?
Comes out. It's all determines about public holiday. Somebody said 27 is not the best value. It's moved back to Wednesday. They say, thank God, 3 days.
Please, who is Deborah? Can you mute yourself? Who is Deborah?
That means they have removed Friday.
Everybody that
that means they are giving people 3 days now.
I shared the link, not knowing that the link is dedicated to me. Yes, so I'm sorry for that. So all my professional colleagues are actually
on the big side.
Oh, okay, please, LSA organizer, can you please mute the person?
Okay.
From your end, can you mute the person, yes, from your end? Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. There's a very interesting part of the text where he's saying, on your side, on this side. So we're seeing popular music already influencing, already speaking to the movements, your side, this side. So, and also we could see Michael saying, what thing you go do when yawa dey na to japa, and also saying there's got to be a better way. In the lyrics as it goes on, you will hear him mentioning dollar, and this is not a currency we spend here. So it's already lending, engaging with the issue and the notion of migration. In terms of visuals, I'm sorry again that you did not see, we could see the living situation in Nigeria, people selling under the bridge. In fact, on the railway tracks, we could see young people lying down there. So it already lends to the fact that there is yawa in Nigeria, there's sapa in Nigeria, which is poverty. And so with the lyrics and the visuals, encouraging a this side and a your side, and also saying there's got to be a better way and spending of dollar, it's already representing the notion of migration. And I also said I was going to, I attempted a sonic analysis. At the beginning of the song, there is a wailing at the underground, more like whoa, 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 hey, 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 like accentuating the suffering of the people. We hear that underground pianissimo wailing taking place before the song moves on. And at the chorus, there's a crescendo. There's an increase in the sound, you know, depicting desperation. There's also these shouting interjections. Wetin man go do when Sapa dey, and when Yawa dey, you hear Japa. When Michael O says Japa, there's an interjection, you know, Japa, Japa. That's consistency, that's a repetition, you know, it's for emphasis. And the crying out, where we hear at the end, the few seconds that ended the song, connotes the frustration. Whoa, 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 hey, 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 hey. So this is where sonic sound, this is where sound engages and enforces that notion of sapa. And people respond by japaing. Now, ethnographic aspect of my research, I interviewed 3 sets of people: pre-japas, those who are about to japa; japareans, those who are japad; and japadas, those who are japa and came back. All right, so these 3 sets of people gave me this concept of you know, what we will meet, what we have seen, and you know, what brought us back. And for those who are willing to go, for my research, those who want to go, they do not want to hear anything. I think the other panelists also mentioned it. It's like, let me get there first. All you are saying, I have heard. No problem, but let me get there first. I have a very close example. Someone I interviewed who is really close to me. I was like, do you know what you want to go and do there? He said, they told me that I should just enter first. And then I will find my way around. Then for those who have jackpot, the two, we had, I would say, conflicting response from them. There are those who say, I do not like the weather. I wish I had stayed in Nigeria. It's too cold. And there are those who say, regardless of the fact that I am paid per hour and I have to work for every dime I earn, I will still pick abroad over Nigeria. So, and for those who have jackpot, they say, I wouldn't want to preempt them and say maybe they are pretending, but you know, when you jackpot, you always come with a story to cover the shame, in quotes. But they say, look, I know what I have earned. I know what I have amassed when I jackpot, and I'm coming to use the money here. So it's not like I can easily go. They did not deport me. I did not have issues abroad. I came out of my own volition. So my interlocutors responded, these three categories of people responded. And the most intriguing part is that those who jackpot are saying, those are interviewed, that if they have an opportunity, they will go, but they will not remain. They will come back. So these three different responses, categories of responses, informed the conclusion of my paper. So next slide, please. In conclusion, my conclusion actually aligns with the theory I used for this paper, which is the mobility theory, that mobility, migration is actually inevitable. We cannot tie people down in one place and say, you can't move. And so people will move. Why they move, when they move, with what they move, it's actually not the scope of my study, but I am actually this research is lending a voice to the fact that people will move. And music, sonic analysis have shown that the lyrics, the texts, and the instrumentation, the sound that comes from popular music also engages this issue, sometimes voluntarily or involuntarily. Secondly, I conclude that the influence, the factors and elements that influence migration is actually multidimensional. We cannot just sit down and say, oh, people are moving and migrating, are jackpotting because of economic reasons, or because they are afraid of what will happen if a new president comes in, or one reason. We have to look at it in a multidimensional, with a multidimensional lens. And that's where I have brought in the aspect of music to engage a dimension of the influences, the elements that influence migration. And finally, I conclude that popular music is actually a major player in the discourse and dialogue of intercultural and socioeconomic elements that connect migration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deborah, for that wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And we will get back to you when we are done with other presenters. Thank you so much. The next presenter, James. Is James presenting online or physical? Can you download the slide so that we can have it not via email? Can you download the slide?
We're having a technical issue with that. So that's
why. All right, no problem. All right, let's continue.
Good morning,
James, you have 12 minutes.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Dr. James Okolisin. I'm a lecturer in the Department of Peace Studies and Conflict Resolution, University of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, Imo State. Thank you. My paper is Japa, Immigration Risk and the Social Group Beyond the Voluntary Reform. Well, this paper was designed to look at the problem of migration, especially the one that occurs in Nigeria, which motivates people to consider leaving. Because when you are leaving your country, it's not that it's bad. You know, I need to see, there's nothing wrong when I wake up and decide to travel. But the problem is, what is my intention? What am I going there to do? Like I told some people, I don't know, maybe my students, or I can't remember the group, that you can't consider leaving your country illegally. That is risk. And that is the essence of this paper. Because I was working with some people that have traveled and returned. Though it's a work in progress, I'm still working with them. Because there are some key people I need to meet. I've met some, you know, because of time and other responsibilities. Even the government, you know, working with IOM, also working with state governments that have to do with returnees. You have to go through processes, and letters have been written, replies have been received, and communications have been sent and received, but there are still a lot to be done. So looking at this now, the essence of the paper is to look at what are those risks and the solutions to this problem, because it's becoming a menace that is affecting everybody, both the educated and uneducated. Because even as a lecturer, for instance, whenever you go to any embassy, ordinarily you are supposed to be regarded, you know, respected, but the way they look at you when you show them your passport. Why? Because of what people who have traveled before and what they did. And because they go through illegal routes, they now think that anybody who is coming to the embassy is desperate, and that is a wrong perception. So that is the essence of this paper. And, you know, looking at the issue of Japa, you know, the desire, like as stated in this paper, of people, you know, who are desperate to leave is the major issue. And there's this perception that something is taught for them there, that in fact, the moment they get there, something will start happening positively. And having been to some countries in the North, US, France, and even Norway and the Netherlands, I can tell you authoritatively that there's nothing that you can just come to the street and pick. Nothing is there for you to pick. You must walk. And why are these people cutting corners? You know, before you are even giving visa, they must confirm your condition of stay. Where are you going to lodge? How long are you staying? What is your means of transport? And do you have any money in your account? These are some of the issues. And these people are cutting corners. They don't have some of these things. And they feel it is possible to pay somebody 1 million, 1.5 million, and they just go through illegal route without getting the travel documents. And this is the major misconception. It's not true. Because going to the US or Europe or anywhere elsewhere in Asia doesn't address the issue. But what is the route? How are you going there? In fact, many don't even consider this complexity, this issue of the risk. Because having contacted and, you know, discussed, interviewed those that went and returned, in fact, some of them are convinced that there's nothing that will make them take such a risk again, having survived the risk. So I know that some years ago, former minister of late now, Professor Dora Akunyele, then information minister, said, initiated a project, rebranding Nigeria project. And why was it needed? Because people see us as, unfortunately, many of us are serious, but they feel that every Nigerian is unserious. Or desperate, like our former president said that some youth are lazy. Yes, he said it because not every youth is lazy, but because there are some people that wake up without having any skill, no vocation, nothing to do elsewhere. but they still want to travel and go there to become nuisance to those authorities there. So this is the issue. And the paper examines risk faced by young Nigerians in their bid to leave the country for Europe and other places by all means. And the paper is actually looking at the imperative of social good, because you ask yourself, if you want to discuss migration, there are a lot of theories that, in fact, I've seen a lot of theories on migration. There are some factors that motivate people to leave their homeland and go elsewhere. Push and pull factors. You also have securitization of migration theory and other theories. But this paper is actually focusing on a major theory that addresses the problem from home and what to do to sustain people within the country without motivating them to leave. And the research questions, I have 3 research questions here. How does the securitization of migration affect contemporary Nigerian youth? Yes, it does. The second question is, how does the route of irregular immigration to Europe threaten the safety of male and female youth? Lastly, what are the ways of enhancing social good for the returnees, better livelihood? Because if you look at how and why people leave their countries, Nigeria in particular, you will see that there are reasons they will give. In fact, they will justify it. And when you reason with them, you believe, you accept that reason. The only issue with that is the route and the intention and the route. That is the route where they want to migrate from. And going through that route, it becomes risky for their livelihood. So the social good theory was developed by Master 2006. According to him, the society can be better and more peaceful when effective leadership creates the platform for government to provide basic human needs and make life more enjoyable for people. Like Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, you and I know that safety need is very, very important. Food, health, emotional need. We are all, human beings that need all these needs, but many people are leaving their homes because the social good is missing. They feel there's no future to continue staying in Lagos, for example, in Aba, in Umuahia, Owerri, or in Benin City. And the moment somebody feels like that, there's nothing you can do to stop him, except you have offer for that person. And like Kenton stated, a social good is something that benefits the society. And when you look at those that are leaving the country, Nigeria, you will see that many of them have lost hope in the system. Even scholars, people that are educated, they feel they are not getting much from the system, and that having gone through the university for years, they are earning less. And when you look at that, you cannot continue arguing with them. And the moment they find opportunity to make their lives better, they will live where they are and migrate. And what are the major findings from this research so far? Having reached those that returned from Europe and elsewhere through illegal route, because specifically, this paper is looking at those that went through illegal routes, who have seen the dangers, having gone through the Mediterranean Sea, through the Sahel, the Sahara deserts, through Niger, Agadez, Libya, all those borders, and then the external borders of Europe. Many of them do not see the need to try such illegal movement again, because some of them were helped by International Organization for Migration. And I must say here that the effort of Edo State government has been commendable. In fact, it's something that other state governments should emulate. This is a government that since the past 6-7 years has been actively involved in collaborating with non-governmental organizations to ensure that people are convinced to return home voluntarily, not being forced to return home. And looking at that, there have been some successes recorded, because from the people I interviewed, a good number of them said that, yes, if what the government has offered them will be sustained, They don't see why they would take the risk of going through the desert, go through the Atlantic, Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea in the name of, going to any country for greener pastures. And a good number of them identified the risk of even eating what ordinarily they are not supposed to eat in Nigeria, like even drinking their urine. You can imagine as water, as source of, that you can't stay for long without eating. 2 days, 3 days, but many of them stayed for weeks, 7 days, 14 days without anything and even what. So they were forced to drink their urine. And having been convinced to return home, according to them, there is hope. But the fear is the ability of the authorities to sustain this offer of resettlement and rehabilitation. This is a concern based on the issue of Nigerian factor of not sustaining some projects. So this immigration risk rather increase global concerns about the regulation of migration, because the fact that they moved from Nigeria desperately through illegal routes now made European countries to strengthen their external border, because in Europe you have internal borders and external borders. But because of their activities, external borders in Europe are becoming, they have increased the attention of security providers to ensure that illegal migrants are not given the opportunity to enter through what we call Fortress Europe. And they now suspect every Nigerian who wants to apply for visa. In fact, if you are not married, it's even an issue because they feel you will not return home. Yeah, I know about, let me not mention some embassies where if you are not married, it's a major issue. They will have to scrutinize your application and you must justify your movement or your migration. So perception of desperate people, yes, there's this problem and concern of people, a group of people who desperately want to live where they are and who are even encouraged by their guardians, both parents and relatives, and even sponsored. My worry and the concern of this paper, which will be given adequate attention is this. There are people that want to sponsor you to go through illegal routes, to risk your life, because a lot have died. In fact, I know about people who lost their relatives through such means. Even an in-law told me that a cousin in the village in Delta State has not returned since 10 years now. After his journey to Libya, they have not heard anything about it since then, with the promise of going to UK. And there are relatives that recruit these people. They get some money. And let me shock you, most of these people that the people that engage in this illicit business, they charge them not less than 600,000, some even 1.something million. But the concern of this paper is, why would somebody pay as much as 600,000, 1 million or more to travel illegally, when if you are able to get your documents, even with less than 100 or 200,000, you will travel without any harassment? So this is the issue. And in conclusion, most of these illegal routes that these people migrate through to get to Europe only creates danger for their livelihoods. Because if you talk about ways of enhancing social good, yes, some people have returned, but the stipend they are given, some have established businesses, some are cab drivers in some towns within the country. But their worry is, with the way the economy is going, Naira is losing value by the day. How are they going to sustain what they have acquired? And even those that acquire skills, there are concerns about making their business to flourish as desired. So the temptation of being, forced to consider leaving Nigeria again is one of the worries they have, because the economy is a major point of reference when you are talking about sustainability. So the paper concludes that resettlement of the people who migrated from Nigeria to other countries and returned, voluntarily, and those who involuntarily returned through the initiative of International Organization for Migration needs to be given adequate attention, because if you are resettling them, they should not be left midway. Yes, we know that if they are giving 60,000 monthly to survive, yes, they can manage it for now. But what is troubling is the future, how they will be able to sustain the gains achieved through this initiative. And the paper concludes by saying that desperate journeys have contributed to loss of thousands of lives and involuntary return of illegal migrants. And the fact that if the reorientation programs are extended to rural areas, like communities where relatives even convince their people to join such illicit movements and business. And if this is achieved, I think the number of people who are embarking on such journeys will reduce, and desperate journeys will no longer be a common thing in the country. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, James, for that wonderful presentation. We will get back to you when we are done with your presenters. David? David, are you online or physical?
Hi, hello, I'm online.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if the person can like probably unshare himself on the screen, so I could have access to share my screen as well. Okay.
Yeah. Please, you have 12 minutes.
Okay, I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes. Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, my name is David Olusonjo, and my topic of my presentation is Japa syndrome, youth migration as the new urban culture, and its impact in Nigeria. So first, I would like to appreciate the LSA and the organizers of this panel. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. Yeah, to start with, it's undeniable that Nigeria is bleeding intellectually. Nigeria is losing some of our finest and brainiest to develop countries, and the cost to the Nigerian economy is enormous. It's large and huge. So then the question is, how are you going to stem the tide of this wave of migration that is currently going on in Nigeria? So according to, I've given an overview of youth migration in Nigeria. So according to the World Health Organization, it states that about 50% of Nigerian population dare to migrate abroad. Also, a statistic from Hapu Baruta indicate that about 7 out of 10 Nigerians dare to leave the country should the opportunity arise, owing to the harsh economic realities and insecurity that pervaded the most part of the country. Also, according to a survey that was conducted by a non-partisan and a private organization, Philip Consulting, it revealed that in a survey about 52% of Nigerian professionals are considering quitting their jobs and relocating abroad within a year. So youth migration is not, though it can be argued that youth migration is not new in Nigeria, but the rate of migration in the new decade post-COVID-19 has assumed a new dimension among youth in urban Nigeria. So my research objective is to identify the push and pull factors underlying Nigeria's migration, and also to explore the drivers, the enablers, and motivating factors that occasion the recent wave of migration. And lastly, as my research objectives, to assess the impact or the effects of migration on Nigeria's economy, given that it has enormous impact on Nigeria's economy. So by clarification of themes, so as other people have said earlier from the outset of this panel, that migration is a Yoruba word, Japa, has become a popular adjective on Nigerian social media. Now it has been widely adopted when referring to one migrating from Nigeria to another part of the country. And Japa syndrome has been, Japa has seen Nigerians leaving their country in droves in large amounts. And this image represents, the emblem of migration in recent time. So, welcome to the new dispensation. This image has been, the exhibition of migration in Nigeria in recent time. So for the purpose of my research, I adopted a social media analysis and an interview for the purpose of my research. So I argue that like one of the new one of the hardest of migration in Nigeria is about sales of property and personal items. I mean, the accompanying effect of migration has been the sales of property and personal items at a subsidized rate for immigration purpose. For instance, from social media, like from my research I did on social media, I realized that though this is not new, but now the effect is not become so clear now that people like sort of, and this fact, people sort of selling of properties for the purpose of migration. These are some of the tweets that I dug out from social media. I see someone had that wants to sell a property of 6 flats in Abeokuta to finance his Japa plans, and pricing is about 45 million naira. So these are another like sweeps like stating that I have Japa properties for sales in good condition, also in Lagos Island, and I'll be posting them later in the evening. So please help me retweet when you see this. So this indicates that now people are sort of taking loans, selling their properties for the purpose of migration, because migration is not cheap, it's so expensive for anyone that wants to embark on it. So I fully agree that social media, though people have always migrated, has been established from the beginning, but now social media is driving a different, like shaping people's decision, refine people's opinion about Japa, even people that have no like intent of migrating, they've not like have no choice because of social media influence on them. There have been a lot of activists and people like education activists that supporting Japa, trying to paint the positive impact, the positive side of migration in Nigeria. For instance, this is a tweet in the light of the recent event about the submersible vehicles that people say that when people Japa, it's not because they don't love their country. 5 people are missing in the submersible vehicles, and more than 3 countries have sent their naval boats and aircraft to assist the rescue efforts. Human life is sacrificed in Igbo land. So this is like a tweet like from individual like that to paint like that maybe life is not much valuable in Nigeria. So this is also another tweet from a presidential candidate of a former president, I mean, one-time presidential candidate, stating that I agree with the Gates' recent comments on Japa syndrome. When according to report, it stated that the rescue of Nigerian professionals leaving the country for greener pasture is for good and healthy for our country. So this and lastly another tweet, like trying to show the Nigerian government that okay, that people that are like moving to another country that are immigrating, it's not that they are not doing well. Like now high time for doctors to start with the challenge of posting their before and after look. Now the picture of when they were in Nigeria and the picture of now when they are in like in different parts or their different part of their destination, that maybe the government will understand the impact of migration on Nigerians' economy or Nigeria. So, and there are various reasons why people migrate from one point to another. So according to International Organization of Migration, it gave various reasons why people migrate for different reasons. One, we have an individual drivers of migration. We have sociocultural drivers of migration. We have the political institutional drivers of migration. And besides, we equally have security reasons. We have human development, for human development purpose, for environmental purpose, and for various reasons why people migrate from one point to another. Then the question is, where people migrate to? Where do they go to? Where do Nigerians go to? What destination do they like choose or consider as a point of destination? So I choose, so here's a pool from a non-partisan, a non-governmental unit in 2020, which said that most people prefer to migrate to Canada. Many other people prefer to migrate to USA. So these are statistics that indicate or shows where people prefer to migrate to in Nigeria. So for my interview, I started the demographic profile. I interviewed quite a number of people for the purpose of this research, and so just elicit response from them to further establish why they migrate from one point to another. And I'm able to like get some of the response from them. Now they used to be in Nigeria, but now they're in different parts of USA. So the first question I asked my interviewee, my respondents, I asked, according to Mr. Hem, he used to reside in Ibadan and now in the US. I asked, why did you leave Nigeria? So he said, I received a small amount of money. I received about 40,000 naira while teaching in Abuja, which is assumed to be an upland area. Despite my studying academic grades, besides, I was still asking my parents for money as an adult. Also, given the inadequate instruments in my field, chemistry, in Nigeria, I left Nigeria to learn from a country that has great research method, research technology. So when I asked the individuals, what actually is your country of destination? He said, though my country of destination is US, it has a lot of sophisticated instruments in my research, who some of the instruments are available in Nigeria, but they are in limited capacity. And the person thinks that social media has no effect on him, but the person left for a better life for himself and for his family. So this has to show that the biggest reason, biggest push factors on why people are living in Nigeria. So when I asked the individual, do you think your migration has any impact in Nigeria? Because they know that was it's robbing Nigeria of its own quota, of its own contribution to its feed. So these are people's reality, these are people's thoughts, and why they left Nigeria. So I mean, just show another response I got from an interviewee. So according to Mr. Hyde, that used to reside in Lagos, now in US, when I asked him why he left Nigeria, he said if Nigeria was okay in terms of well-being and standard of living, there would have been no reasons for me to emigrate. I left for 3 reasons: career opportunities, standard of living, and income. And when I asked what actually is your country of destination, the person claimed that his country of destination, now US, has one of the best economies in the world and welcoming empowerment to immigrants. Also, it provides a prospect for me to reunite my family in the US, whom I have seen for a long time. And the person claimed that about the impact of social media on his decision. He claimed that about 10 to 25% of the reason why he left Nigeria was because of social media influence. And the person equally alluded to the fact that, I mean, his immigration from Lagos to US had both positive and negative impacts. We can't paint in one side of the story that no, it had no positive impacts. Down the line, in the long run, it had a positive impact on Nigeria's economy. So the person claimed that though Nigeria might have lost some of the potential skill sets and talent that it has, that would have used to develop the country, but Nigeria will benefit down the line or in the future through remittance sent home. So these are people's thoughts. These are people have their biggest reason on why they emigrate from Nigeria to other parts of the world. So I had to start some of the response I got from another, let me just say that the last one. So when I asked another respondent, Mr. D from Lagos, he said, though I worked with a telecom company when I was working in Nigeria, but the salary is not encouraging. Also, when I saw people that have been working in the company for 10 years, earning the same salary and no promotion, I realized that this country is not for me. So these are people's thoughts that it shows the level to which the country has stooped and biggest reason why people are migrating to leave Nigeria. So when I asked a follow-up question, why do you choose your country of destination? Say the better education, the working system, and the possibility of earning additional degrees without paying attracting to the US. And the person equally claimed that no social media has no much influence on him, but whenever he sees his first mate, his last mate, moving to a different part of the country, it's going to shape your decision as individual. People are living a better life while I'm here, I'm not that doing well. So when I asked the last question, do you think your immigration has any impact in Nigeria? So the person said, of course it does, but I have to get a better life myself and help my family. So I'm not able to support my family. Now I'm not able to support my family financially through remittance, which is a positive impact. But the negative impact is that the country is losing talent and skills that should have used otherwise to utilize in the country. So to sum up the various push factors, the various driving forces, why people are leaving Nigeria. So from various interviews, it's clear that people are leaving for 5 main reasons. One, for better career opportunities, because of heightening security in the country, the desire to provide better future for their family, people leave now to further their education, and also because of poor governance in the country. Then the question is, what is the solution? What is the way forward to stem the recent wave or tide of migration in Nigeria? Then I provide recommendation on what people, the push factor, the biggest reasons or factor that can pull people back to Nigeria, not to reduce the wave of migration that's been going on in recent time. So on the part of the government, so it's pertinent for the government to strengthen current policies that stimulate growth and socio-economic development. So no longer means that like the currency, there have been a lot of imbalance between the exchange rates between Naira and dollar, which is having a grave economic impact on people. Also, the government needs to invest more in basic infrastructure and actively tackle corruption. Nigeria has been rated in so many rating indices as country that is notorious for corruption. On many, even people that are making research, they often adopt Nigeria as a perfect, a essential case study on, a country that is best known for corruption. So the government needs to work on this to change people's mindsets about, to change, orientate other people's perception of view about Nigeria. Also, the government needs to initiate youth-oriented, youth-targeted programs and harness industry and manpower developments. And lastly, on the part of the government should enthrone an environment conducive to work by implementing policies that promote security and economic growth. So this is one of the things that indicate that people live because of insecurity. So people have to work in a well-securitized environment so their safety is guaranteed. Probably if government works on this, it might not totally eradicate, immigration from one point to the other, but it's going to reduce the current wave or tide of migration. Then on part of it's not only government that is going to work on this to reduce the wave of migration. The business, the private individual have a lot to do as well. Also, on the part of the private sector, what should they do to reduce the wave of migration? Businesses and private sector should review employee value proposition and talent management strategy to succeed in today's evolving landscape. But this means considering hybrid work arrangements, like this practice in most part of the world. People work about maybe you go to office 3 days, then you work 2 days at home. It's just to change the employees' prospects, not to change employees' perception as well. So the government needs to, the business and private sector needs to work on this so it can reduce the wave of migration in Nigeria. And lastly, on the part of the business and the private sector and the business, so by implementing a fair employee compensation strategy and providing learning and career development opportunities. So this is going to probably not totally, don't totally obliterate the impact of migration, but it's going to change people's perception. For instance, I see one of the people I interviewed that claimed that he had been working in a company for so long, for 10 years, people have been having the same salary, no promotion. So what type of message is it passing to new intake in the company organization? I think that this is not the right place that I belong. People are going to leave if they have no prospects, if they have no possibilities in where they work. So I presume that if government and the private sector work together on various reasons or on this recommendation, is going to reduce the wave of migration in Nigeria. So because of time, I'm going to stop here. Thank you so much for listening. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, David, for your wonderful presentation and insights on Japa syndrome. We will get back to you during the interaction section. Chukwu Aloka, physical or virtual? Chukwu Aloka. Chukwu Aloka Michael.
It's virtual. This is Lucky.
Okay. Okay, Chukwu Aloka and Lucky. Okay, you have 12 minutes.
He will join. I think he's online. I don't know where he went to, but he will come in soon.
Are you the one presenting? Are you the one presenting or him?
He's supposed to present, but I don't know where he is. But I can still give a clue.
Can we move to the next person so that you can get to him or her? Can we move to the next presenter so that you can get to your co-presenter?
Oh, okay.
All right. Joy, Nesson, okay, you are physical, all right. You have 12 minutes.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Ubume Somajoy from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And still on the Japa topic, I'll be discussing on the topic Japa for better life, effects of in-season strike actions on Nigerian labor force. Okay, I had to relate strike to Japa in one way because we have been victims of strike in one way or the other, in education, in health, in transport, in security. We've either fallen victims of strike or we are the ones initiating strike. And these strike actions, in one way or the other, has affected us as Nigerians. It has affected the Japa syndrome we are facing today and all. But before then, I will talk on the definition of the term Japa. We all know what it means. Yoruba people, it came from Yoruba side, and Japa, as it means, is to run swiftly out of a difficult situation. It's not that one is running for fun or anything, but to Japa, to run and to leave a place because of circumstances. So people has Japa, people will keep Japa, like we've been talking. But then, like, how is it related to strike? Strike actions in Nigeria, especially the Nigerian labor force, has really affected people, because imagine when you are a lecturer or you're a medical doctor or whatever you are doing and you're not being paid well, you are not being appreciated for your work. They tend to, oh, this country doesn't appreciate me. I can go to UK where I'm being appreciated. I can go to US where I'm being appreciated, and I will do better. So this makes them to leave the country because of strike actions and go to other places where they are being appreciated. And strike actions, also known as industrial action, is the work stoppage caused by mass refusals of employees to work. It's not just like one person will say, I'm not coming to work. That's not strike. But when it's a massive drive that they are not coming to work to do anything, it's a strike action. And strike didn't start today. From the time of Industrial Revolution, it has been happening. In Nigeria, it has been on. People has been striking and all. But one of the major the significant ones could be traced to the general strike of 1945, where railway workers decided to strike. It was in 1945, and it was the time of the Second World War that ended. So because of the end of Second World War, there was high inflation and the standard of living became so high. Then their salaries or their wages then weren't increased, and they needed to level up per se. So they had to strike because of the inflation problem. And one, there was this racial discrimination they were facing because their European counterparts were paid more and appreciated for their work. So that was one of the major strike actions that happened, that about 30,000 workers stopped work, and for over 37 days, they didn't come to work. Another one was the real Enugu coal miners strike of 1949, where the miners in Enugu decided, okay, they are not paid well by the management. It was a management issue. They decided to strike. And this strike had issues because it involved, in one way, involved market women, and it went, there was this tear gas explosion that happened, and it led to the death of about 21 persons, and about 51 persons also injured as well. Then these railway people as well also did another strike in 1963. They had another strike, and it was still about the high standard of living and the racial discrimination they were facing. Then we'll also talk about different types of strike we have. People strike for different reasons, but then the types of it, we have the economic strike. The economic strike, also known as the butter bread strike. It's a kind of strike where people are agitating for their due pay. Like, it's all about money, economic part of it. They're agitating for their pay should be given to them and all. Then look at the general strike, where a group of people, for instance, the ASU strike, it's a general nationwide, like everybody is involved. It's not just, oh, University of Nigeria is striking, but it's a big kind of strike. Then we'll look at the sitting strike. Sitting strike is when workers come to work, but they don't do anything. It's still a way of trying to address a grievance. I'm not happy with what is happening. I'm not duly paid. My allowances are not coming. I'm coming to work, but I'm not doing anything. It's another kind of strike. Then we'll also look at the slow down strike. Okay, I would work, but the production will be slow. For instance, if it's a bakery, they would, if on a daily they produce about 10,000 loaves of bread, they might reduce it to 5,000, and it will cause scarcity of those products. So it's still a way of trying to address their grievances. Then the recognition strike is when maybe a small group of people that are not so noticed decide to strike to be noticed, more like they're chasing crowds. Sorry, I'm using that word. But then it's more like they're trying to be recognized, to be seen by the people. We look at the causes of strike actions. So many things, so many reasons has made people or workers to strike. This is Nigerian labor force we are discussing about. The people that work in Nigeria, that hold our system for us, that ensures productivity. What are the reasons that causes strike? We look at one of the major or significant reasons is the non-payment of salaries, or when it's not even when you pay but it's not fully paid. So it makes sense. For instance, the one we are familiar with, ASU strike. Most times, lecturers, being a lecturer in Nigeria is not a big deal. They feel like they're even suffering. It's like a sufferhead kind of work, because most times they're not paid. Then even if they are paid, it might come late, or they are not paid in full. So it makes them to always strike. They also talk about the contract, a failed contract agreement. We had an agreement that this will happen, and okay, we are working based on this contract, but the government doesn't fulfill their own part of the bargain. It also makes them to strike. So I'm always using ASU, but then we are common with, or familiar with ASU strike, even as people in academics. So when the government failed to reach their agreements, maybe they had an agreement and the government has failed to reach on them, they strike a lot. Then we look at the when there is no provision for professional trainings. Imagine being in a situation, in a setting where there is no room for, oh, you can go to this country or can go to another place, engage yourself in workshops, in training, allowances will be paid, provision will be made for it. Like, it doesn't make sense. In developed countries, provisions are made for all those things. So when there is no provision for trainings and workshops, they tend to, oh, this is not what we are cool with. And as a way of addressing their grievances, they also engage on strike actions. And also we look at inadequate infrastructure at facilities. When, for instance, in the health sector, hospital materials are not so available. So many things are going wrong. People are dying, and as a way of also trying to seek redress, they tend to go on strike actions. Then under the university strike actions, as the Academic Staff Union of University that was founded in 1978, they have been going on series of strike. We have known as even the recent one that happened in 2022 that lasted for 8 months. They had so many reasons about non-payment. Then they had so many contracts they had with the federal government, which that it's yet to be fulfilled. For instance, the funding of payments of outstanding end academic allowances, the implementation of university transparency and accountability solutions, that is UTAS, constitution of visitation panels, retail salaries, and non-payment of take-off dues of loans, and as well as addressing the salary shortfalls of lecturers. So these things has made, for instance, the educational system, the ASU body, to go on strike steadily. I'm discussing ASU because we are in education, we are in the academics and all. Then I talk about the effects of strike actions in relation to Japa. Okay, strike has become a normal thing. People are not cool with it. People in the health sector, the National Association of Resident Doctors, they are not appreciated for their work. I have a better option in UK I can go to, and I'm being paid so well. They say that medical work outside the country is like oil, because they are paid well for the services they render. So when they leave the country in education, in health, in security and transport, when they leave the country in drones, in Japa tent or a Japa syndrome, it has effects on us. They are the people holding the country that makes us to either be developed or underdeveloped. One of the major effects of these strike actions, as it has made people to leave the country, is that there is a massive shortfall in manpower. Our human resources are leaving us, and it's not a good thing. I'm sorry to talk about what happened yesterday, but someone talked about we shouldn't be worried about people leaving the country, but the government they are going to should be worried. I think it's kind of, we had an argument about it where some people argued about it and some people agreed and so. But then I think it's something we should really be worried about. Imagine that, oh, you have been so familiar with a medical doctor that gives you all you want, like he knows how to just solve your problem when you go to the hospital. Then all of a sudden you go there and say, oh, he has traveled to UK and all. Like, you can't just get used to someone else that will be looking for your vein by giving you several injections and trying to just get a vein. Like, we now have limited manpower. Human resources are leaving us, and it's not a good thing. The government should be worried. We should be worried. It's not just that we're Japan for good. It's a good thing that people should go out of the country for, oh, it's a free will, but not because the country is bad. That is just the emphasis. So the quality of service has reduced, and the quantity of things we get, like good service we get, has also reduced. Then we'll also talk about the reduction in tax revenues. Our tax revenues has also had a shortfall as well, because people that are supposed to be paying this tax, that are working and supposed to be paying tax, has left the country. So the revenue generated from these people has drastically reduced as well. We also look at illegal migration and its problem, because I want to Japa by all means. They want to leave the country anyhow. I think let me just enter somewhere that I'll be paid well for my work, even if it's a mechanic or a carpenter. He just wants to go to another country. And most of them fall victims of illegal migration. They would go there because they didn't get their papers right, or they might just be deported and face so many problems. And even someone that you know that he's learned, someone was presenting the last time where he said someone was first class doing caregiving jobs. So it's so unbefitting for someone with first class. Like first class is a big deal. Like it's something that it took effort and time to achieve. All of us, okay, because he couldn't, maybe because of strike, in quotes, maybe, but he leaves the country to go to another country just to be a caregiver. And it's not a good thing. Then when people leave, our skilled manpower leave the country to other places where they are being appreciated. It even makes it difficult for people employing, for employers to get employees. Imagine if it's in tech. We're having issues in tech, even in this 21st century, not just 21st century, in this 2023, where people are advanced, artificial intelligence is becoming a normal thing, but then we are still so backward with technology. It's not because the people that are supposed to be there are not working, but they are all outside the country. So it's becoming even difficult to, I have something I want to do, an employer to get something doing, and it's not coming forth. Then outside the negative effects of this Japa issue on strike, like strike issue on Japa, or it has this positive side because the money they generate from outside the country goes back to their families in the home country. So it's more like there is an increase in remittances to the home country. I think that is one good thing that it has helped the country to achieve. Then my recommendation to this thing, because strike, we shouldn't just overlook strike. It's possible that tomorrow another ASU will still strike again, that government has failed to fulfill their contract agreements and all. So there are some, there are some recommendations made by the government particularly, because they are the major employers of labor that could help provide solutions to these strike questions. One of it is proactive measures in the sense that it should be prevented. Anything that will make strike to come up should be totally prevented. Agreements should be reached and signed. There shouldn't be delay in agreements. Corrective measures in the sense that, if they notice that these people want to strike, if there's a threat for strike, they should provide solution. Meetings should be made for this strike not to happen. Then we also talk about providing professional trainings or workshops for these people. Imagine when a doctor doesn't have the training he needs, the doctors in the other country do better than him or her. So if it's better for us in the country, there will be no need for this person to go to another country to look for where he'll be developed professionally in his career. Or then the government as well should also learn not to employ too much, because it's when they do too much that maybe the payment will become a problem as well. It's a government work quite all right, but then it pays well quite all right, but then don't make it too much, don't gather too much hands in what they wouldn't be able to pay off their bills as well. So in conclusion, strike has really affected the Japa Kingdom, and it can totally avoided if we put corrective measures and proactive measures. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joy.
Excuse me, Matthias. We have barely 20 minutes to end this one. Please, can we go a little bit faster so that we can have the panelists where they will have.
Okay. I think the last presenter is Lucky and Michael. So you have 10 minutes, please. Lucky, Michael.
Sorry, I've called him and I thought he was online. Let me.
He's online. He's online.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Lucky. I'm a co-presenter with Michael Yaone. Our topic is on migration discourse as a symbolic activity of repressed society in Tony Durako's A Mirage of a Dream. The discourse of migration is often lexically emotive, repressive, and derisory because its lexical rendition is adorned with the tales of neglected margin who find themselves in a deplorable state of misrule. So our concern here is the repressive lexicality of migration discourse. Meanwhile, before I continue, there is a myth, especially in this area, where when somebody is in a misfortune, they always attach it that is the reason or the cause for that misfortune, and is the what revolved around this play that we used as our data, where a young man who very brilliant, had wealthy parents, and all of a sudden, because of misfortune, the father was messed up. He now found himself very poor, a taxi driver, not even a taxi driver, what we call conductors, and his language, his tone was that of a motopark tout and all that you have. So people used to assume that is the reason for that. But that myth is disproved by us that it's not what the person, not the consequences of his action, but the society, the repressed society he or she finds himself or herself. That is the reason for such stuff. So most times the society, becomes a symbol of an agony that wouldn't let people move. And because of the need to survive, they tend to look for better ways or, look for better life. And in their quest for looking for a better life, most times they get a symbol of somebody that have shifted from their own margin to the other divide. So they look at that person as the symbol. And because of how probably they met that person one-on-one, or they might have heard the story of that person, they care less about the chasm, they care less about what is the issue, the dangers and everything. All they know is that if this person can make it, I also can make it. So they decide to shift to that other side of the divide, regardless of the situation. So part of what our work is doing is just to prove that this Japa syndrome, as we've been discussing, it has a lexical tone and it's more of a repression in all angles. If I could give my example, it is often believed to be the function of negative impact of colonial deposit, where there was no equal opportunity and equality before the law, and also access to justice for African descent. This symbolic activity becomes a transgenerational culture that snowballed into the science of semiotic presentism, which can be conceived within society and under the wave of additional sphere of the social psychology. So to us, this is reinforced by lexocentric representation. So most times, through the use of a metaphor, there was a lot of representation in the play to highlight the migration discourse as a lexical tool for repression. Now, this paper seeks to interrogate the abundant use of this lexical expressiveness of the Japa group in expressing the thoughts initiated by the conscious need to survive. So mostly why people migrate or tend to Japa is the need to survive. And need to survive is a result of a repressed society, a lot of it. From our research, we brought out several types of metaphoric representation of repression. There is one that is general, That is this one caused by government mostly, but there are ones that are personalized, particular. For instance, from the play.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay. From the play, the wife to the main character, the sister to the wife of the main character, kept insulting the main character, insulting his wife, and showing a picture. Oh, my husband bought me this. My husband, but your husband can't do anything. Can't he move? He's too lazy. Will he remain a conductor? Is an insult to us and all that. So that's a picture, a symbol of representation of repression. As I tend to conclude, because of time, through our text, we also saw that there is a reprieve. For instance, that there is an oasis, a water that will definitely come out from the desert. There was a particular classmate of the main author who, trying to help him, made him to read, bought him taxi, but still the quest to survive, and we like say greed also, made him not to overlook all those that reprieve and target the other person at the other side of the divide. It is therefore quite obvious that our lives are represented in our discursive psychology. That is, our lexical behavior and production are the semiotic picture of the social behavior and phenomenon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucky, for your presentation. We are going to do something, maybe tweak the panel a little bit. Let's take responses from the audience because of time, and the chair and the co-chair will give the final charge. Please, let's take questions and comments from the audience. Thank you.
Please, for 1 minute.
Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to appreciate the presenters for the wonderful job. They've all spoken well, and they mentioned the factors that contributed to the Japa symptom. So, and virtually every one of them mentioned that. But I want to add or clarify further. So I think that we need to try to demystify the factor of colonial ideology in terms of the factors that are responsible for this Japa wave that we are experiencing in Nigeria. Like the doctor that presented said from Institute of IFRA, so if I can use that, he said some people assume that the future, the desire is stored for them somewhere in Europe or elsewhere across the Atlantic Ocean. So he mentioned something related to that. So, but I want us to take cognizance of that theory, that colonial ideology. Some people just think that, in fact, some people don't care, they don't mind traveling to Ghana, the neighboring country there, to go and work as a nanny, to go and work as, those who clear the roads, sweep the roads, because they believe that traveling out of the country is a prestige. I don't know if you get the point I'm making. They think that traveling out of the country is a prestige because they feel that those outside, those Western world, they are the perfect whatsoever. So that, I think colonialism we experienced in those days still, has effect on this Japa syndrome we are experiencing. Thank you.
So my name is Ajibola Adigo. I would like to comment to Dr. Osemene's talk about immigration risk and social good. I want us to be very careful about the kinds of framing that we have towards social good and towards the people that we consider to be the respectable kinds of travelers. The distinction between those who migrate legally and those who don't. Because from the conception of that legality of migration, there is a conception and a prescription of what is considered to be a good migrant and a bad migrant. For example, we'll understand that this drive towards Japa, as it is currently, is not just about the pressures from the Nigerian state, It's also about opportunities that were created from the UK, for example. So you would see that the Tier B universities in the UK actually had, the universities UK actually had a plan to say that they needed external students, foreign students, to come and help in their revenue generation to succeed those universities. In fact, if you hear the experiences of some universities like in All, for example, they will say that their classes basically look like Unilag classrooms now because of how many students from Nigeria that are there. And that's actually not because of just a drive to go to the UK, because some years ago, they did not have those opportunities, but the UK intended for them to come. And that was why they allowed the permissive visa regime that would allow them to bring their families and whatnot. And when they realized that the migration issues now have started generating some social problems, because that you can get the money, but then you get the faces, and then you're like, oh, they are too much. And you would see that if you look at the migration statistics, and the reason I say you should be careful is that the framing about the International Organization for Migration or whatever, and the kinds of returnee projects that they try to do, we must also understand that the push factor itself actually is a demand side creation, and the kind of return journey social good conception is, we have to be very, very careful about the nuances so that we do not necessarily victimize those that are victims already by themselves. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, the presenters and all of us. Thank you. My question goes to Dr. Debbie. You mentioned SAPA that led to Japa. And there was a music that was played at the background, though I didn't get the lyrics. So I want to really ask, is it the music that propelled the Japa or the SAPA itself that led to the Japa? If it's the music, I know music has a way of influencing people, but is it the music per se that led to the Japa or the SAPA? Indeed. Then the second question to Dr. Reddy from the Agri, thank you very much for your presentation. On my own personal note, I kept saying that the Japa, like I just personally, that if I leave my village to the city to go out for greener pasture, is a means of me Japaing. Now, I think my own personal thing that I was thinking, it should be at the embassy. Why it is my Japa and not their own Japa. Now they will not deny somebody the visa to move. I think that area too, we've not been talking about that embassy something. Why are they denied of all this, whatever? Whether it's my own Japa and not their own Japa. It's my money and not their money. It's my reason why I want to leave and not their own reason. So they should at least look at that area as well. The embassy say, are there things we are not doing well or something that is not? And the aspect of maybe you're married or not married, I know I have heard about that. You have to think about changing of name and whatever. Those are the issues we shouldn't be looking at as well. You know, why one should be denied at that very point. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Samuel Kuye. Okay, I want to add that I think it's about how the countries present themselves. Because if we look at the US, they have a problem of homelessness and they have, crime rates, the same in the UK. But these countries, the media and researchers always popularize the good things about these countries. And as someone has added, that it's still relating to colonial mentality or a kind of affecting our mind to just believe everything is perfect for them. And apart from believing that everything is perfect for them, because we are good, we now go to their place, we we are able to compete with the opportunities that exist there. And as a result of that, our people can get chances that they do not have even at home in Nigeria. So I believe that we can also look at the media contribution in promoting the good sides of our country, because most times we focus on everything negative. And if we continue to do that, there is no way that people that cannot just see the good side will think towards the good side. So everyone will just float. There is osmotic attraction towards what we perceive as good and perfect. So I think the media is part of promoting the Japa syndrome.
Thank you so much for the beautiful presentations. But there's something I keep saying when we talk about the issue of migration, whether poverty or not. I said this in the last session, that migration is really not a function of poverty like they always make it look. Migration is a global phenomenon. The same way we have Nigerians living, we also have people trooping into this country every day. So when we try to tie migration to poverty, insecurity, and everything negative in this country, we have to be very, very careful, because we are projecting the country in a very, very bad light, and we make people believe that everything in Nigeria is negative. It is not so. When we talk of migration, to also look at the push and the pull factors, right? Those, if the labor market in the West in a way doesn't favor, or they don't even have the demand for labor, we won't even be living. So the same way we talk about expatriate workers in Nigeria, that is how they also look for expatriates, even though there's this wage disparities between the blacks and the whites. So this is not peculiar to Nigeria alone.
Okay. Thank you so much. The audience.
So you take only 2 minutes so that they can respond to some of the questions.
Dr. Misobian, do you have anything to say?
I said you have only 2 minutes, if possible.
No,
one.
I'm
And Odinaka, 1, so that they can respond to their questions.
okay. Just first one, the first presenter, Deborah. Someone mentioned what I also noted here about your topic, Sapa or Japa, and also popular music. Which of them, is it the poverty that leads to Japa or the music that led to Japa? And James, just a quick note, I'm just wondering if you interacted with these people. You mentioned the people that took illegal route, because when you were giving instances, it was sort of, you were generalizing them. They died through the ocean, they took risk, and so I'm just curious to understand if really you interacted with those people that survived, the people that survived these routes. Were you able to, either in newspaper collection, interview? How did you gather what you shared to the audience? I'm curious to know if you interacted with them, or how you were able to come up with these things you shared with us. And also, James, how do you reconcile the everyday passport and visa denial as part of the increase on this risk you are talking about? Fast forward, David, you made mention of urban pressure and the sale of property, social media pressure. I'm also wondering if this migration drives you showed us are part of the pull factors that America, and to give us a clearer picture about that. Then next summer, you made emphasis on ASU strike, that's very well, you pointed out ASU strike, but in your paper, we're expecting your paper to also dissect, you mentioned it in passing, doctor strike, lawyer strike, so that we have a balance on this strike action and the Nigerian labor force. And also your title, you can look at, you can remove the effects of and start with Japa for better life, sustained strike action on Nigerian labor force. And lucky, we said in the previous last session or so. I'm also curious for you to look beyond the text, the literature you just shared with the audience, so that we have a broader picture on beyond the text. What are the method? What are the FGD group you want to link the text with, so that we have a context on the idea that you just shared with us. Thank you. Let me give to Odinaka for more insights.
Thank you very much. I just have a few comments to make, and that will be directed to Mesoma and Lucky. To Mesoma, I was wondering if you could conceptualize Japa as an underutilization or overutilization of labor in Nigeria. I don't know if that is possible, but think about that. I was also wondering if you can connect your discourse on the body literature on migrant labor in Africa. It's not a new thing for labor to migrate. So if you can connect your discussion to migrant labor in Africa, that will be good. And to look at how this can be contextualized in Japa syndrome in Nigeria. Then also, just like so many people have said, how would you connect underutilization of labor, overutilization of labor in Nigeria leading to strike actions to the pull factors or the pull factors that we have in Europe and in America, just like so many people have pointed out? Does remittances not flop some of or most of your arguments about Japa being a negative disservice to the country? Remittances. And then what are your methodology? What is your methodology? And how can you use it to confirm your assertion, to fact prove some of your assertion? Because I didn't get a clear of the methodology you use. You asserted that Japa has also led to the reduction of services, in the quality of services in Nigeria. How did you arrive at those conclusions? I was just wondering how that happened. And to Lucky, I was just like Matthias pointed out, how you base your analysis on the discourse of repressed society. I was wondering if you are using some textual analysis from social media to corroborate some of your conclusion that people, are also inclined or attracted to this movement because of the so-called oppression on social media outside of the text that you're looking at. And then we didn't get a picture of some of these lexicology that you were talking about. What are some of these lexical descriptions that people use to oppress, those for instance, those in Nigeria that now make them to dream of Japa in every day that they wake up? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Naka. I'm going to give Deborah opportunity.
Let me just answer in 30 seconds, since it's the same. What music does is to engage in this Japa dialogue, to accentuate and maybe musicalize the Sapa issue. So that's what it's just adding its voice to the Japa dialogue by showing forth, different aspects of Sapa. So it's just a player in the whole dialogue, so that, and then whatever decision is taken that leads to Japa, music is just one of the players in that multidimensional discourse. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, like I said earlier during my presentation, there's nothing wrong when somebody is migrating or deciding to go wherever he wishes to. But the problem is illegal migration. Because without documentation, a lot will go wrong. And that matters, thank you. I interviewed over 40 returnees, people that returned from different parts of the world. You know, specifically, my work focuses on those that traveled illegally, not legal migrants. And like you said, there's a relationship between visa denials and the risk people decide to take, because with experience, a lot of youth have lost the opportunity of being given visa. They've been denied visa. And people have convinced them that it is possible to set out travel through illegal route and even at cheaper cost. And the case is not always the same at last. And the issue is that I interviewed those that are currently convinced that they cannot take such a risk again. A lot of them are hairdressers, taxi drivers within the country, and they are making it. And the problem is that they are doubting the possibility of the government sustaining the offer they are giving them, that is the resettlement offer. So thank you.
Thank you. David, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, to respond to the question Matthias asked about social media being one of the drivers of migration. So I would just quickly say that now, given, I mean, we have Twitter, we have like millions of Twitter users, we have millions of Instagram users. So, and given the amount of people that are using social media, now anyone that might, at the point, anyone that migrate from Nigeria to Canada, Nigeria to UK, Nigeria to US, most time they often have a YouTube channel. They have like, now the rate of actually they post on social media, like Twitter, for instance, now. So you have so many people that have become proponents or supporters of migration information. They tend like to share information regarding education, employment opportunities, and what have you. So this, like, whenever you see message consistently being pushed at you, so even like if you have not even begun working on the application, you assume something wrong with me because everybody is going on, everybody is working on the application. So given the amount of information that is being shared, now you have virtually, like most people, whenever they migrate, they tend to share information, and this information is really having a strong effect on people to shape or define their decision on also migrating. Even at the point, some people are saying that I don't have access to the application, but they might see my friend on social media applying, so it tends to push them as well. Yeah, thank you.
That we already said, all the presenters, we are still going to call for your paper. Finish your paper, please, for our proposed special issue. Then from there, we select the papers, and we are going to publish it in an in-depth journal. If not so, maybe. Thank you. Thank you.